Welcome, listeners and viewers, to the Lone Road iRacers podcast. Today, we're diving into two of the most iconic endurance events in the iRacing calendar: the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. Now, both these events push drivers, teams, and even spectators to their limits. We'll break down the unique aspects of each event, explore their challenges, and tackle that ultimate question: which one is the toughest? So we're going to look at these famous iRacing events and real-world events as well. So what are they? So the 24 Hours of Daytona, a legendary endurance race on an American track that combines the speed of an oval with the technical challenges of a road course. The 24 Hours of Nürburgring is a grueling test of endurance on the Green Hell, a track revered and feared for its length, complexity, and unpredictability. But what makes these races so iconic, and why they're used every year on iRacing, and it attracts iRacers from around the world? What do you need to be successful? What preparation do you need on both these prestigious races? So our first track that we're going to look at in detail is the 24 Hours of Daytona. Daytona itself is an international speedway road course. It has a unique blend of high-speed oval sections and tight infield turns. Drivers must master the transition from the banked oval to the flat and technical infield, especially at turn 1, where the braking precision is critical. We have the bush stop chicane, which challenges drivers to balance speed and control. Get that wrong, and guess what? You're probably going to be in the pits for a significant amount of time. What about team dynamics and strategy? Drafting is critical on the oval section. Teams must work together to gain an edge. Proper communication between drivers and spotters is essential, and that is not only in your own team, but also the team in front of you or behind you as well. Pit strategy revolves around minimizing downtime, managing tyre wear, and ensuring driver swaps are seamless. Transitioning from day to night is always a challenge on any of these endurance events. It tests adaptability and concentration as visibility changes. High-speed sections lead to intense battles and higher chances of multi-car incidents, especially during restarts. Drivers must maintain a balance between aggression and patience, particularly in traffic. And patience is the key here. If you're catching up on a slower car, they might be have a lower skill set than yourself and panic a little bit. So you've got to be thinking in your mindset, right, I'm going to wait till it's really safe to do so and not end up hitting the car in front. Guess what? You're all in the pit. It takes a physical toll on drivers, and this shouldn't be a surprise, especially during the night stints, and it can lead to mental fatigue. Why is Daytona so iconic? The race's reputation as an unofficial start to the motorsport season. Its ability to attract world-class drivers and teams, making it a unique blend of elite competition and grassroots participation. And, we see famous F1 drivers now taking part in what is basically our hobby, and it's now become their hobby as well. So it's great to see those people taking part as well. It only puts iRacing into the general public's discussion to get more iRacers. Now we're going to move on to the famous Nürburgring. The Nürburgring Nordschleife is a 25-kilometre long circuit with over 170 corners, winding through the scenic yet treacherous German countryside. Known as the Green Hell, it's renowned for its elevation changes, blind corners, and unforgiving barriers. Specific sections like Flugplatz, a jump-like crest, Carousel, a banked concrete hairpin, and Dottinger Ohu, a long straight where drafting is key. Survival takes precedence on this track over outright speed. Minor mistakes can lead to disaster due to the track's narrow width and lack of runoff areas. And how many times have we all experienced large pile-ups as one or two cars in front collide in the middle of the track, bounce off the barriers and finish in the middle of the track, basically blocking it. Teams must constantly adapt their strategies to handle mechanical wear and track conditions, including mid-race repairs. It's a very complex track that is very tight and technical for multi-class racing. So this is also part of the difficulty of racing these endurance events on the Nürburgring. The narrow roads and blind corners at the Nürburgring make overtaking extremely risky, especially during the night or in bad weather. Weather unpredictability is a hallmark of the Nürburgring, with rain, fog, or even hail sometimes affecting only some sections of the track. Drivers must prepare for lap times exceeding 8 minutes, meaning fewer pit opportunities and higher stakes for any error. The track's storied history and association with legendary motorsport moments makes it an iconic track. The sheer endurance required to survive the 24 hours on one of the most challenging tracks in the world is basically a milestone for anybody to complete the event. So how do each of these formidable tracks affect us, the iRacers? We're going to look at the mental impact first. Daytona, the high speeds and intense drafting battles keep adrenaline levels high, but the wider tracks offer more margin for error. This allows iRacers to focus on strategy and execution without constant fear of hitting barriers. But for me as well, if you've got some runoff areas, it also gives way to maybe taking a few more risks than the Nürburgring. Nürburgring itself is relentless of the Nordic life, demands unwavering focus. Drivers are mentally taxed by the need to remember every corner, elevation change and braking point over long stints. Now, a lot of people who are entering both these iconic races on the iRacing basically probably do no more than 3 or 4 laps if they're on the Ringmeister series, for example, or IMSA, or the Conspict endurance challenges. They may be an hour and a half, but we're moving into 24 hours. So minimum each driver is doing is probably 2-hour stints. And that is mentally taxing, folks. That's where physical fatigue starts to kick in, and we're going to touch on that now. Daytona, while the oval sections are less physically demanding, the frequent transitions between the infield and high-speed banking can wear down drivers over time. Night stints add to the challenge, but there's also the track's flow is less punishing. Where on the Nürburgring, the constant steering inputs, rapid elevation changes, and unforgiving nature of the track take a significant physical toll. Fatigue can set in quickly, especially during the night stints when visibility is limited. Then you've got emotional pressure. You're part of this team. You don't want to let your buddies, your colleagues, your friends down. So that is giving you more stress and more pressure. For Daytona, the stakes are high with constant battles for position, but the track's design allows for occasional moments of reprieve. Drivers can regroup and prepare for the next move. Whilst the Nürburgring's track's unpredictable weather and high-risk environment amplify emotional stress. A single mistake can have devastating consequences, keeping drivers on the edge for the entire race. But what I personally find on the Nürburgring is, as it touched base on Daytona, saying you can regroup for the next move. For me, when you get to the long straight near the end of the lap, for me, that's where I always regroup, take a quick drink through my water, reflect on positions, talk to my buddies, my spotters, just make everything's okay to go again for the next lap. Just some little things that I personally do. Learning curves. For Daytona, the road course's layout is relatively straightforward, making it more accessible to newer drivers. However, mastering drafting and pit strategies takes time. Whilst on the Nordschleife, complexity makes it one of the most challenging tracks to learn. Even experienced drivers can spend years perfecting their approach. Now, I race the Nürburgring a lot more than Daytona. Correct Nürburgring is challenging to remember every single corner, your braking points, especially in the night where you lose some of those visuals. It can be difficult to remember where you are at times. Now, Daytona, I haven't raced that too much, and I haven't done the 24 hours of Daytona personally. I'm saving that for next year. Probably a lot easier to learn. So to learn the track, I would think, is a lot quicker. Now, one thing that we haven't touched on yet is iRacing's weather system and how that will affect or could affect this year's races. iRacing simulates, as we know, dynamic weather conditions, including temperature changes, wind, precipitation, or rain, to create realistic racing environments. Weather affects tyre grip, car handling, and strategy, making adaptability crucial for success, and it's something we've all recently had to learn about. At Daytona, typically stable conditions at Daytona reduce the risk of major disruptions. However, temperature changes between day and night influence tyre wear and engine performance. Cooler night air improves engine output, but can lead to tyre grip loss if drivers are not cautious. Wind on the oval sections can affect drafting strategies and car stability. While over in Germany, the Nordschleife is notorious for its unpredictable weather, with rain, fog and even snow possible during a single race. Now, we know during last week's podcast we touched base on potentially bringing snow into iRacing, so you're not going to get snow this year. Different sections of the track can experience varied conditions simultaneously, requiring split-second adjustment in driving style. Wet conditions amplify the track's already challenging layout, turning corners like carousel into near impossible obstacles without precision. Visibility issues caused by fog or rain can create an extra mental burden for drivers, particularly during night stints. Now, I raced last year in a lot of rain in my split on the Nürburgring. Probably, I think I did 6 hours in total. I think 4.5 hours out of those 6 were definitely full-on rain, which I totally enjoyed, to be honest. We had to learn that as well on that specific track, but it was mostly enjoyable. I really enjoyed that challenge. So bring it on this year. Strategic adaptations. So Daytona teams focus on monitoring track temperature and adjusting tyre pressures accordingly to maintain optimal performance. At the Nürburgring, teams must prepare for constant weather shifts, equipping drivers with wet weather setups and enjoying real-time communication with strategy adjustments. Now, we're going to start doing the side-by-side comparison at this stage now. So we're going to have a quick break and we're going to look at which one is tougher for us, the iRacers. Dre is the audible iRacers companion. Want to improve your results or get more wins? Download Dre, the digital race engineer. Hit the link in the show notes for a 10% discount. Welcome back to the Lone Road iRacers podcast. We are now going to start looking at which is the toughest with a side-by-side comparison between Daytona and the Nürburgring to basically answer the question, which one is the toughest for the iRacers? Now, let's look at track difficulty. Daytona, it's wide, has it's a high-speed track with room for overtaking and strategic positioning. Nürburgring is tight, technical and merciless, demanding precision and bravery on every turn, on every lap. Then we look at weather factors. Daytona typically stable, but nighttime adds complexity with lower visibility and cooler temperatures. We're in Germany. The weather is infamously volatile, with sections of the track experienced in different weather simultaneously. Now that's something to consider. Team strategy. Daytona's emphasis is on speed, clean pit stops and drafting efficiently. Nürburgring, it's about survival and adaptability that is paramount, with frequent adjustments required. Driver skill. Daytona requires confidence in high-speed drafting and precision in braking zones, where Nürburgring demands technical mastery, track knowledge, and mental endurance. Physical and mental fatigue. Daytona long stints at high speed are physically demanding, but less mentally taxing. Nürburgring's track complexity, coupled with unpredictable conditions, makes it a relentless mental and physical challenge. So we're going to start summing up from a verdict point of view. Don't forget, folks, the question is, which one is the toughest for us, the iRacers? Daytona offers a fast-paced, strategy-heavy challenge with room for error, making it a race of precision and teamwork. Nürburgring's unyielding complexity and unpredictable conditions make it the ultimate endurance test, demanding respect even from seasoned drivers. While Daytona is thrilling and rewarding, the Nürburgring stands out as a tougher event due to its sheer unpredictability, technical demands, and the mental resilience required to conquer the green hell. So, in summary, folks, the two events are the most attended, driven events through the iRacing endurance calendar on the special events section. Famous people will be in top split. You're going to see Team Redline, for example. You're going to see Williams. You're going to see teams like that battling it for the wins. And it's good to see them live on YouTube and things like that. But for us, the base community of iRacing, as I said earlier, I haven't experienced Daytona 24 hours yet. Last year, we did the Nürburgring 24 for the first time, and it was totally enjoyable. So personally, I can't yet compare what I personally feel around Daytona versus Nürburgring. But this article, with the heavy demands on danger and precision at the Nürburgring, that means the top step, as we've said, goes to the green hell. So that's it for today's podcast, folks. The 24 Hours of the Nürburgring takes the crown as the toughest endurance race on iRacing, but Daytona's speed and strategy making it a close contender. But what do you think? Join the conversation on our social media channels. Put some comments on Facebook. put some comments on where you get your podcasts from. Going forward, I'm still looking for co-hosts. If anybody's interested in joining me to make the podcast, I'm always looking for sponsors. I'm also always looking for topics to give you. And we're coming up to very close now to another major milestone. Well, I think we're about 30 downloads away from 7.5k downloads of the podcast. And this is only our third year. So I want to personally thank everybody who's been with us on this journey. Please tell your friends, colleagues, iRacing buddies about the podcast. And I'm sure through some of these long endurance events, lots of people need something to do to keep themselves entertained while they're waiting to jump in for their stint. So why not listen to the podcast? Until then, folks, look after yourselves, stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the track soon.